Well, hello there. I'm so glad to be back. This is our third and final portion of our perimenopause series. And today we're going to be talking about fitness adaptations. Okay, I'm really excited to dive in because what I'll tell you about is this is my wheelhouse. Okay, my wheelhouse is fitness adaptations as we enter perimenopause. Okay, and for several different reasons. One reason is going to be that I work with a lot of women that have never done strength training before. Okay, so now they're entering an era where they're learning strength training, okay, from the ground up. And also their bodies are going to be different than if they learned it 20 years ago. Okay, so for example, when I used to lift weights at the age of 18, wow, I never got injured. And now at the age of 44, it doesn't take much. Okay, and so when I'm bringing somebody in who is in perimenopause already and we're learning, then we have to take really special care that their mechanics are phenomenal, okay? So that's one thing we're considering. The next thing we're considering is really, unfortunately, many of us who are now in perimenopause grew up in diet culture. Okay, where to get results, you have to exercise more, eat less. And so a lot of times I will work with women that don't believe me that all they need to do is 10 minutes, 3 days a week. And they don't need to do a lot of excess cardio if they don't want to, that they can just do steps. And so they think that it has to be hard to get results. Okay, and the worst thing we can do to ourselves in perimenopause is make it harder physically. Our body is going to be stressed easier, and also our recovery time is going to actually take a good bit longer. Okay, I have a lot of women that have a lot of excess post-workout soreness. And so really playing around with different supplements, different amino acids, playing around with creatine, playing around with nutrition, also electrolytes has been a big challenge. And it's been one that I've enjoyed really being challenged with. So there's all those considerations. And the other part too is that we really have to take into account that rest is just as important as the work. And so I'm a big fan of less is more. And I'm going to talk a little bit about fitness adaptation strategy and really what we need to think about in perimenopause, okay? And the other thing too that comes up is that as I was talking about diet culture, women in perimenopause, they're not often liking what they're seeing in their body. So they're having maybe some midsection weight gain. They're having, more aches and pains. They're not liking it. They start to think that their body is failing them. And when that happens, a lot of times the knee-jerk reaction is to just push it harder and get stronger, okay? And really what I want to show you is that the recommendations are quite the opposite. We have to be really smart. I'm not saying that we don't have to work, but we have to be really smart about how we're doing it. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how my program, for example, has evolved in the way that it has, because I've grown up with women going into perimenopause, right? When I started my company, I was nowhere near perimenopause, okay? So it was almost 10 years ago. And I had just had my second daughter, and my body was very different then. And I didn't have as much knowledge about the changes then. And now I have a whole lot of knowledge about the changes because I'm going through those changes. And I'm able to see my clients also going through those changes. And it's been really, really profound to be able to help them navigate it. I've been with some of these women when they were, 8 years younger. Okay, so I've seen them going through it and they're changing. And so I've learned a ton. And so I hope to share that with you today. But let's talk a little bit about fitness adaptations, okay? Now, I told you the first one. It's really about baseline minimum, less is more. We work smarter, not harder. So what do I mean by that? So when I talk about fitness, the first thing that I want to ensure is that we are maintaining muscle mass. But it's a little bit different than that. I can't have somebody who hasn't worked out in 20 years come in and just start lifting big muscles, right, and nothing else. I can tell you, most women do not undergo pelvic floor PT after they have kids. And so what I typically see is I see a lot of injuries that are actually coming from having weak core, weak pelvic core and floor. And so especially, right, when we're in perimenopause, things are different. Our joints are different. Okay, I can tell you, I have gotten tendinitis 3 times this year. I don't get tendinitis. Now I get tendinitis. Okay, I'm telling you, it has everything to do with these changes. So I have to adjust differently. Okay, so one of the things that we have to do in perimenopause is that we have to make sure that we're strong from the ground up. Okay, when these changes started happening and I started noticing in myself that I was having more injury, I added a core and floor program. So I actually do a weekly core and floor program for my groups where they focus completely on that core strength once a week. I can tell you, since we've added that program, we have had much better results overall in everything we're doing, because they get so strong at the core level that when they go into doing the other lifting routines, their body can tolerate more weight. And if our body can tolerate more weight, we don't have to necessarily do heavy weights and lots of reps. We can actually really mix it up. Okay, so really in terms of the fitness changes, I want to talk about the functional fitness starting from the core and floor up. Okay, and so the way I want to talk about it is we need a strong core and floor. Okay, we need strong knees. When people's knees start hurting, what do they stop doing? They stop squatting, they stop lunging. Okay, and what I want to tell you is that we don't have to give up those exercises altogether. We have to modify them. Okay, so it's really all about, being able to work with somebody that you trust that can help you modify these things. So one of the things I say is we lunge 1 inch. And what we're really trying to focus on is really strengthening those muscles around the knee. And you can do that with very limited movement, okay? But we have to do it. We have to move it. Okay, so knees, hips, okay? The scapula. It's something we ignore all the time. So a lot of times you're starting to see the rounded shoulders. I actually dealt with this a lot. So, we're sitting down, we're typing, we're hunched over. So I can tell you, I started disengaging my lats. My lats were never engaged. My scapula even started winging a little bit. And what was happening is I was getting shoulder tendinitis, and it was stemming from scapula. Okay, so a lot of the core and floor programming I do, we are doing things that are targeting those areas, and we do a fair amount of push-ups, I would say. And I'm always saying first, core tight, lats engaged. And basically that's reminding us to engage those lats, because when I was 18, I didn't have to worry so much about that, right? Because whether I did it or not, I was probably going to be okay. Okay, I never got tendinitis once, and I played Division I softball. All right, and now I'm, leading workouts. Granted, I do a lot of activity, but I'm getting tendinitis left and right. Okay, and it's because, if we're not engaging in these core muscle activities, that's going to happen. Okay, so I should say it's not really happening anymore, because I'm going to recommend this. This is a huge recommendation, okay, in terms of how we're going to adjust our fitness. I'm going to highly recommend that you get yourself a physical therapist. I'm just going to put it out there. If you are in perimenopause and you are somebody who is highly active, I would see a physical therapist. Even if you do not have a problem right now, go in and have them do a full evaluation on you and see where there's some issues. I can tell you that when I squat, for example, I have to be very, very careful that my knees are in alignment, because I tend to bring them in a little bit too much, right? So a physical therapist can see that and tell you that. They can watch how you are doing certain movements to see what needs work. All right, and so I can tell you, for me, I recently have signed up with a physical therapist to work on the tendinitis that I did get. But that came from something completely different. That came from walking down the stairs with heels on, and then it developed a tendinitis. But still, I do think that this is perimenopause related. And if that's going to happen now, then I got to think about, okay, if I want to keep doing what I'm doing for many years, then I better get in the swing of things, and I better make my core muscles, my shoulders, like really getting my shoulders really strong, my hips, my knees. So this year for me is all about my shoulders, my hips, my knees. And I am going to a physical therapist, and that is what I told him. I have an acute thing going on right now. but I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop going. I'm going to go once a week, and I'm going to target those groups because I want to keep that area super strong. Just like the core and floor workouts I lead in my programs. If we can keep that core strong, we're going to be able to prevent more injury, and we're also going to be able to get stronger overall, maybe grow more muscle, definitely maintain muscle. And here's the other thing too. We're going to be able to be more consistent. Okay, so I want to say right now that that's definitely going to be one of the other changes we have to think about in menopause, perimenopause, menopause. We need to do things that are going to allow us to be consistent. So if you are maxing out once a week and all you can work out is once a week because you're going so heavy, that's not going to be your ideal strategy, okay? Because I want to see at least 3 days a week. So what are you going to do to be able to be consistent with 3 days a week? And you have to have a fair amount of motivation to be consistent, okay? Which gets me to my point. If you are having pain, you are not going to be consistent because it is going to hurt to move. If you are pain-free and your body feels amazing when it moves, guess what? You're going to be more consistent. Consistency is the name of the game in perimenopause, for sure. Okay? And so I want you to think about what are the things that you can put in place to ensure that you can be consistent. Okay? For me, working with a physical therapist, it actually feels a little indulgent. And, I said to him when we first started working together, I said, I love what I do and I want to keep doing it for a lot of years. Can you help me do that? Right? And it's like having a team, asking for help, having that shift. Like, I probably at the age of 25 would not have gone to a physical therapist and said, hey, listen, I'm looking ahead and I think I'd like to start now getting a lot stronger in my knees, my hips, my shoulders, right? Because the mindset then wasn't to ask for help on that, but the mindset now is, okay, I'm going to ask for help so that I can do what I want to do. And if I keep doing what I always did, it's not going to work anymore. It's going to be a lot harder. So how can I redesign my fitness regimen to show that women in perimenopause can get amazing results, okay? And how can I learn that for myself so I can then teach other women? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm highly recommending that you go to a physical therapist, even if you're not gonna work with them weekly, okay? Get an evaluation. I cannot tell you how many of us, again, I will say it, have not had core and floor rehab. And it really is super important, and it's not too late. It is not too late. So I can tell you, since I've been recording the core and floor program in my program, my core and floor is so much stronger. I can jump rope and it's not even a problem anymore, okay? I just feel a lot different, okay? It has been probably one of the best things that I ever could have added. And it then allows us to really do the strength training even more safely. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the other kind of changes that are important to consider in perimenopause. It's really important that you are strengthening, but you're also staying functional. Okay, and I say functional versus flexible because a lot of times our joints might be more lax during this era. And I don't want to tell you to go and do all these extra stretches. A lot of times when people have, let's just say like chronic pain, right? And they're like, oh, I just really need to stretch out. Actually, they have more laxity than they realize. And what they actually really need to do is strengthen more. So I'm suggesting that we find a balance. Okay, so as much as we strengthen, we also have to remain flexible. So I call it functional fitness. Okay, so it's all about, for example, when I am leading a workout, I will do yoga poses throughout that workout as well. So I will go through several vinyasa flows because you're going to stretch everything out in that flow. And I love doing that combined with the strength training because it actually adds balance to that routine. Okay. We really have to mix up what we're doing. The days of picking one workout and continuing to do that workout over and over and over again just aren't going to cut it anymore, okay? So what I'm suggesting is we find things that are exciting to motivate us to stay consistent and that they're targeting different things. So in my workout programming, I do 10-minute workouts, I do 20-minute workouts, I do 30-minute workouts. But here's the newest thing I've added. So one day I do high intensity interval training. So this is where we use kind of a timed method. Okay, and the focus is working really hard for that time period and then taking a rest. Okay, that's day one. So high intensity interval. So working the heart rate. High intensity interval is excellent for decreasing visceral body fat. Day two, I go to endurance strength. Okay, endurance strength is really nice because we pick a moderate weight that we can complete the reps with, and it feels a little tough, but it's not terribly hard. But you're working the muscle, you can feel the burn, and I love this type of training because you're doing this and we have time in between the sets to do a little bit of stretching. So you're getting your stretching, you're getting your strengthening. And the goal is to keep your muscles, slow twitch muscles are going to be your endurance muscles. We're targeting kind of more of those slow twitch muscles. Okay. Awesome, right? Perfect. So then the final day, we move into something called max strength. Okay. This is where we decrease reps as we increase weight. And there's a lot of studies out there showing that really, to put muscle and gain strength, it's really going lower reps, higher weight. So I've added that in. And what I've seen personally is I'm definitely getting stronger. And I have to also tell you, I'm more motivated to complete each week because I know I'm looking at something different each day. So if you're working out 3 days a week, you can expect to do a high intensity interval training. You can expect to do an endurance strength, and then you can expect to do a max strength. And in that max strength, I always do a functional movement. So these are going to be things like a hang clean squat, squat clean we call it, or a snatch, or some kind of plank with twist. It's using multiple muscle groups to be able to complete the movement without using, sometimes you're using momentum, like if it's a particular movement. For example, when you're doing a thruster, you're using the power in your legs, and the power in your legs provide momentum to help you get the weights up overhead with your shoulders. Okay, and that's a very, very functional movement. But that's a very complex movement. So in order to make that happen, all those smaller muscles really have to be stable. And that's really where I talk about working with a physical therapist, or, going ahead and, doing something like a core and floor program. I really do also like the idea of adding yoga in. There's all different types of yoga. And a lot of times people will say to me, so does yoga count as strength training if it's really hard? Here's the thing. At the end of the day, moving your body is what's best. At the end of the day, doing something that you can be consistent with is best. So is there some strength gain associated with yoga? Sure there is. Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to gain muscle mass doing yoga? Probably not, right? And that's where I say, the actual strength training will come in handy. But in terms of being strong, yoga is excellent. In terms of maintaining muscle, potentially it could be okay. Excuse me, gaining muscle. Not so much, okay? I'm going to get my hydrogen water. Let me get the hydrogen water in a minute. It's up there. Hydrogen water is supposed to give you more energy. Did you hear that? Okay, just a moment, and it'll fly over here because it has the extra hydrogen. Okay, so let's then kind of consider, what do we do with all this information now? Okay, so I would say in summary, we really have to start thinking about what our body is still capable of, but maybe we need to approach it differently. Big recommendation for creating strength at the core level: core, floor, knees, hips, shoulders. Okay? If you can do that on your own, great. If you need to see a physical therapist, which I recommend you do it, even if it's just for an evaluation. Okay? Next, finding strength training programs that are going to be effective. Okay, there's so much out there. Finding somebody that you can trust to be able to lead you through what you need to be doing. And that's why I've made my programs, right? Because, I take people no matter what level you are. You could be sitting in a chair, you still can strength train. I have that program. It's a beginner strength program, right? Up to you want it all. We do have yoga in our programming, right? So you want to do yoga, you want to do meditation for stress relief, you want to do 20-minute workouts, 30-minute workouts, you want to do core and floor. That's total fitness program, okay? Now, if you want to work with somebody, right? You can work with me, yes you can. But there's, trainers out there. There's other people out there that you can work with to help really guide you and keep you in check. And so one of the things that I do in my Transform program is this. This is what I do. So I make sure that you can optimize exactly where you are and optimize exactly what you're working with to be able to really achieve things that you may not have thought you could. You know, I have women that are just literally the strongest they have ever been, and they're in their 50s. They're buying new dumbbells that are heavier weights. I just saw a post yesterday. Somebody posted a picture of heavier dumbbells because she's graduated to heavier dumbbells because she's been so consistent in my programming. Okay? And so again, really kind of being mindful about strengthening from the core up, but then also keeping it functional, keeping yourself functional, flexible, and also really strong. Mixing things up, okay? Definitely including some high intensity interval stuff, definitely including some endurance strength stuff, definitely max strength stuff, using all muscle groups, deciding, you know, different strategies. For example, I do a lot of complex back work with biceps because you're using your biceps twice then. So you're going from a compounded movement of, let's just say, a crossbody row to then a hammer curl with your biceps, okay? So you're hitting your biceps twice, okay? So you're getting this really, really awesome workout, but you can't even tell that you're doing all this intensity because of the way it's programmed. And when people are having fun doing this, it's going to lead to consistency. And that really is the name of the game. And so let's say none of this resonates at all. We just need to move our bodies. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. If we want to get into the nitty gritty and do all the things that are going to really help you optimize at this phase, yeah, we're going to do the things I say. But I'd rather you just move if none of this speaks to you, okay? Walking, all right? If you want to get on your Peloton, fine. If you want to go for a run, fine. Walk all day long, just walk. Well, don't walk all day long, but walk and realize that walking works, okay? It is like cash, okay? People think that cash doesn't work anymore. You need a credit card. No, walking is like cash. It still works, okay? So I don't even do any additional cardio at this point. I get my steps and I do my strength training, and I've never been in better shape. Now, granted, the things that I think I'm dealing with in terms of joint, absolutely perimenopause related. I can tell you that right now, okay? And because of that, what am I doing? I'm adjusting. I'm figuring out what I need to do to get stronger within my joints so that I can kind of overcome that. And listen, I'm not saying that I'm not going to need, you know, hormone replacement to make it better, but I am going to be smarter about how I move. So by working with my physical therapist, I'm being smarter about how I'm moving, okay, to be able to really acknowledge that I am in perimenopause and things are going to be a little bit different. And I am going to probably be more prone to injury. I'm probably going to not see results the same way that I once did. And that's okay. I just have to approach it differently, okay? So I want you to start thinking about what you're currently doing, okay, with your fitness. Are you confident in your current fitness regimen? Do you like what you're doing? Can you be consistent with it? Is there a different way? Is there a better way, okay? And again, I'm gonna invite you. We are enrolling Transform 9.0, and this is the program that you work with me directly for an entire year. So we take your circumstance and we formulate whatever it is that you need. And it's amazing. Again, you get access to, you know, all of the workouts that are really going to be the strategic planning that I have created to help you become your best. And also the beautiful thing is that I follow, you know, your in-bodies. I manage your nutrition. You know, we have coaching calls. The community is incredible. So you have women who are doing the same exact work as you. And the beautiful thing too is that this program was created for physicians. You know, we take care of people a lot, okay? And this is just really a nice way for you to get some of that back and realize that this program is for you to be able to be taken care of. All right, my friends, I love chatting with you. Hope you enjoy. And until next time, we'll talk soon.